our camera.
There we go.
Hello.
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 All right. All the audio and video seems to check out. That's always a good start.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
So
how's
how you
everybody been?
I think Phil and Lisa found out what democracy looks like today.
Yeah, this is
Yes,
what
we
a
get
democracy
to
looks
see it
like.
in person.
This is what democracy looks. That's what they kept saying.
This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like right here.
Yeah. Well, this too is what democracy looks
But we went to one of the protests.
Right on.
like. Right.
Let me tell you, they probably had it better in Florida and California.
Well, I
the
know
video
they
you
had-
sent looked rainy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was rain. 100% rain. Even my underwear's wet.
I saw someone with a protest sign using it like a awning.
We actually forgot to take a sign because we didn't realize we were going to go. We forgot to take the podcast cards. We forgot to take a pen.
Right.
It was,
Well,
But it was cool. It was like really cool. It was like
for
it's your
snacks
first one.
and drinks.
The people were really,
So,
I don't know. I mean, first of all, people were nice.
Oh yeah, everybody
it
was
was- there
very
was
nice.
no
Each
hostility.
a person.
You're nice for being so angry.
There was one MAGA person. We got there a little bit after it started, and had a very tough time finding a parking spot, but we did get in there.
Shocking, downtown Cincinnati.
And then worked our way in there, and then one of the first persons we met was someone who was running for the House of Representatives in the
Yep.
midterms.
Her name's Lindsay Ferrara.
Yeah, and that was good. She expressed some
She's
interest.
running against Landsman.
Greg
Apparently,
Landsman.
he's been voting closer to Maga than not.
Well,
So we have to look at all that.
she expressed some interest in maybe coming on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Right on.
And there's an RNA representative who was there with her doggy. He was beautiful.
Right.
And he loved me, of course.
What is RNA?
And she wouldn't mind being on the show, hopefully before May 8th, because that's when the May 8th rally is for nurses.
Cool.
Right.
Is that what RNA is? Registered Nurses Association.
Nurses Association.
Gotcha.
There were a lot of different groups there. There were school system. There were a lot of people there from the school system.
Libraries, post office,
Yeah.
Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. Yeah.
But I understand there were 3 million people, 3.5 million people were,
across the
the
nation.
country that attended.
Yeah, I saw that
No
MAGA
more than
supporter in Cleveland.
Oh yeah, I did see
That
that.
looked like it was going to get ugly.
Right. Yeah, he was driving through the middle of the march and
Christ.
with his Trump flag waving, and for some reason he had his windows down. I don't know why.
Brilliant.
So he can
That's
yell
why.
at people.
Huh?
Well, they were doing more yelling at him than anything else.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as long as it stays in your mouth, it's not actionable.
Right.
Ours was super, super peaceful. Everybody was just, peace and love.
Yeah.
There were a lot of dogs. There were a lot of kids. It's a dog-friendly park now, Washington Park, right there across from Cincinnati's Music Hall is a park called Washington Park. It's been completely overhauled, and it's very nice. And everybody was just peaceful, and then we marched, and while we were marching, they did some call and response. We had to say things.
Yeah, like
Some chanting. It's called chanting.
right,
Yeah.
right, the chants.
Well, they called out something and we responded. So it was chanting involving call and response.
Yeah.
The signs are really
I was
cool.
involved in that too a little bit because I just finished watching my grandson's doubleheader and there's a lot of chanting from the dugout.
Yeah, like picturing a hole 10 feet deep.
They don't do that one anymore.
They don't do that. That's too old. Okay.
Too high, way up where the birdies fly. Hey, ball, ball, ball. Hey, ball.
Mhm.
I still remember we need a pitcher, not a
Not a
belly
belly
itcher.
itcher.
I'd never heard that one before.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that was
because
from
it
my
was
days with the
about you.
Congress and senators.
The senators?
Yep.
Need a pitcher, not a belly itcher. We need a pitcher, not a glass of water.
Hmm.
But Will, it's good to have you back again. I don't want to say that you're a guest. You're more like the co-host at this point, I think.
Mhm.
I'm glad to be
A
back.
member.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just let you know. I heard from Melanie yesterday or today, actually. Yesterday was her birthday, and I was trying to get a hold of her to make sure that she was good because of all the storms that I saw in Cincinnati.
Right.
So I was concerned because I really don't hear from her much. But I've heard from her today, and she's good.
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 The storms were pretty
Mhm.
bad.
They were pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard
Yeah.
4 confirmed touchdowns of tornadoes in the greater Cincinnati area.
Mhm.
Right.
And I've been telling people out here about April 3rd, 1974, again, which is a day I will never forget for as long as I live.
Right.
That tornado took out my one neighbor's in-ground pool and my other neighbor's above-ground pool.
Was that up here in Mount Healthy, Aaron?
Yeah, it was on Daly Road.
Okay.
The year that
Springfield
tornadoes
Township.
took out, I believe it was Sailor's Park.
Sailor Park and Xenia.
Okay,
And
that was
Xenia got the worst end of it.
2 years before that, because in 74 I was 8.
It was
And
9,
in-
actually.
Yeah, because you're just a year older than me. Finally, someone on the podcast older than me. Yay, thank you, Will.
Podcast.
I don't know whether to be
Podcast.
insulted or complimented.
I appreciate it because it's infrequent. But it was I was 6, so it was 72. There was a tornado there in the Mount Airy area, and I was ill. I had another I had strep throat and an ear infection. So, taking pity on me, my dad decides it's a great idea to take me outside and show me the tornado.
Oh, God.
I was thrilled.
Yeah.
Loved it. I had begged for it. My mom, on the other hand, not as excited.
I mean,
Well,
we're up on a hill now.
Damn it, Donald.
We're up on a hill. You could hear the storm just whipping around the
yeah.
house.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that
There's
bad here, really.
Yeah, we're kind of on a hill, but at the same time, we're real flat in the area where we are. So, the wind just goes whoosh.
Well, Cincinnati,
Yeah.
it mostly sits in a valley anyway.
Right.
But at the 74, my mother, my sister, and I, we were living on Mulberry Street toward the top of the hill in Mount Auburn, and they had just demolished the house across the street, so we could see all the way into downtown and almost into Kentucky.
Ooh, nice.
And we're watching parts of Price Hill get hit.
Yeah.
And I remember that day because I was 9 years old, and I was going in for my first pair of glasses. And on the way home, it was so warm, but when the wind blew, it was ice cold. And all the way home, my mother just kept saying, something's not right. Something's not right. And no sooner we hit the house and my mother turned on channel 12, that's when Glenn Hansen announced that there was a tornado warning and the sirens went off.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn Hansen.
Yep.
Well, yeah, the sirens did go off here, and it was a little scary.
We did have some tornadoes.
Our old house was
Mm-hmm.
just seems more sturdy in retrospect than this.
Right.
We had storms there, and it was like you could barely, it didn't really seem to have much of effect on you, inside. But
You said that you didn't think it was that bad a storm when the power was out when you texted that one night. And it was apparently a pretty bad storm. So
yeah. We are definitely considering a generator.
Right.
yeah, I haven't even taken mine out of the box yet, but I'm glad I have it.
Yeah, because I heard by Monday, the Ohio River is supposed to be at 60 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
supposed to be at least 50. They're actually saying like 58, 59 tonight.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Overnight.
That's what I heard on local12.com because I I tune in there every once in a while just to keep up with what's going on at home.
Yeah.
We tend to, Philip likes Channel 5 because there's a chick. And I like Channel 19 because it's almost completely local. So
Isn't Channel 19 Fox?
Yep.
Well, technically it's Fox, but it's not Fox. You know?
Well, growing up, I was used to Channel 12 and Channel 5. And then when I visited my grandparents, they watched Al Shuttlecotty on Channel 9.
Oh, yeah. Al Shuttlecotty.
11 o'clock in the
Tony
tri-state.
Sands. Remember, I think Tony Sands would give the weather report, and if it was, if the previous day was right, they'd ring the bell for him. It's like...
My mom actually met Al Shuttlecotty.
Yeah.
Well, supposedly my mother went to school with Nick Clooney.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, they know George, and of course some of them know Rosemary, but a lot of them, for us it was Nick. So
My wife knew Nick because she's a native Californian, and he came out to LA for a few years to do the news.
Okay.
I didn't realize that.
Interesting. Well, Lisa and I actually we did two different forays.
Said they referred to him as Nick Looney all the time.
Yep. Since our last podcast.
Yeah.
Are we recording, hon?
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went to they held a political action, Springfield Township Political Action Committee meeting at a local brewery that we attended a week ago Thursday. And we met some really cool people there as well. That was more geared towards, local political races. It was held by the Democratic Party.
Local park cleanups, action, charitable actions.
But that was cool too.
All within Springfield Township.
Right. People were definitely thinking about the national landscape there as well and talking a lot about that. We won't use last names or anything, but we've met some very nice people.
I did
our neighbors.
Last names.
Candace and Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
Vicky and William.
Mm-hmm.
Julie and Ian. Jackie, Megan and her toddler, CJ and Carol and Sarah. Just a few of the people that we talked to that night.
Sarah's a low school trustee or Congress.
So you're not gonna give their last names, but you're gonna give as much personal information about
Well, they
them.
live over here on this other street.
Springfield Township.
They live in your old house.
Yeah. No, that's about all. If you can find them in Springfield Township, I'm going to say more power to you, stalker baby. But I seriously doubt it, considering I'm pretty sure there's more than one. And also some of them don't actually live in Springfield Township, but we're just helping out. Yeah. So, and we're not telling you who.
Right, but you name their children and which one's the toddler.
But we should say that.
Yeah, good luck finding the toddler.
We should say that
That's CJ.
No, CJ is a woman. The
never mind. Okay, maybe we'll just confuse the stalker. Right. It's better this way.
Right. Megan
almost sounds like an episode of Batman.
We're together.
Exactly.
Well, so we should say that, among the websites that we recommended last week, which was Mobilize and Indivisible. Also, 5051 hosted the protest today, and they're planning to continue. When we mentioned it to people today, they were like, well, I didn't even know that was happening or whatever. Right. Well, next time people will be more aware. I think they're doing, like we're doing here, they're kind of doing a cadence that there'll be another event in about a month or so.
Right.
Assuming that Trump's not going to become illuminated and all of a sudden overturn a lot of the evil shit that he's doing, probably going to be some more protests.
And we reached out to people, some of the people with really good signs, and some of the people, like for instance, there were gentlemen walking around getting signatures and helping people sign up to vote for a Raphael Prophet who is running for city council. So if you're local, look him up, and we're hoping to have him on the podcast.
Yeah.
they're going to let him know, but I am planning to reach out.
So
Cool.
let me let's get some business out of the way.
Uh-huh.
Do you guys like what I named?
Do you like the name?
Or is it I mean, I'm totally open if we
Right.
Doge, love, laugh, love. You know what?
I kind of liked political cadence,
Yeah.
Personally. I thought that was the name of it, but
Yeah,
Philip likes Doge Laugh Love.
I'd
I
rather
find
keep
Doge Laugh Love
Doge out
and
my
both of
mouth.
those things annoying.
Right.
Huh?
What'd you say, Aaron?
I'd rather keep Doge out my mouth.
I get it. I get it. Well, I did have a story behind it though. In Lisa's
Yeah.
treatment room, I put up one of those signs. You know, those Hallmark signs.
Live, laugh, love.
It's like a cottage industry of live, laugh, love
Mhm.
products. Like mugs
Yeah.
and frilly shit that you put. And so my thinking was, you take something that's pleasant and wonderful, and like just you doge it. It's sort of like what's kind of happening to the country anyway.
But I found that sign absolutely
That's the kind of
horrible,
behavior we're
and
trying to discourage, though.
But I'm trying to find keywords that people might find to actually hear the podcast. That's why I chose Doge. I understand the sentiment of keeping it out of your mouth.
If I was looking up a podcast, that's the last thing I'd click on.
Right.
Okay. So your assignment for the next 2 weeks is to come up with another name to
That you
tell
like.
us about.
You too will. So
He did come up with a good one, but the Tesla chainsaw massacre, that was good.
okay, just so you know, the
Well,
reason I
too
keep saying
silly, though.
tequila is because tequila.
Well, the other port of business that I wanted to bring up was that we'll normally in our shows we do what's called an Elite Eight mini bracket at the end, but I feel like I still want to do that, but I'd like to call it, since we meet about every 2 weeks, maybe thereabouts, call it the F up of the fortnight, maybe. And then we list
so many to choose from.
What's that?
There's just so many to choose from.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
Philip's chosen a few. Also, something that we used to do that I think you would enjoy is we ask how many bathrooms are there on the
Death Star.
Death Star.
Are we going to ask Will that every week?
Drunk already?
I am. I'm sorry, but everyone here knows how easy it is to get me drunk.
Yeah. Okay, well,
if you would have said the Enterprise or the Galactica, you would have had a better chance.
Yeah. Well, that's.
Well, what do you think is the most popular answer?
I have to peruse that one for a while. Let you know.
All right.
I like to think it's one, and there's a big line going around the place. Just stormtroopers standing
That's the
there.
most popular answer one.
Well, I
doing
think
the
I'd
pee-pee
ask Cory
dance.
Booker what he did during his speech, his 25-hour speech, because that's probably what they do on the Death Star all the time, as far as his bio breaks.
Fast and avoid water for 2 days.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. It's like, what the hell?
Everybody who actually uses the restroom, do you think Darth Vader uses a restroom?
I think his suit probably.
I mean, if I were him, I wouldn't go to the bathroom. I'd just be like, whoosh.
He's probably got something in the suit. He's got a tube.
You'd think the technology would be so profound.
Well,
Darth Vader's just that brain.
I don't know.
Isn't he just a brain?
Begs the question of ass wiping, and I don't think I want to go there.
Okay.
All right.
I think that's where the Force comes in.
Yeah, there you go. Vaporize it.
That's what I'm saying. He forces it out.
The Force.
May the Force be with your bathroom facility.
All right. So we've had about 2 weeks. Last time when we met, while we were talking, actually the biggest story, we missed the biggest story probably to report on during that first episode, because we were actually recording when Signal Gates started breaking Saturday morning about 11 o'clock. So I think that's definitely going to end up in our F up of the fortnight at the end here. But so how many ways
something
is
to count as
wrong what happened?
To count as to be included in the F up of the fortnight, does it have to be a fuck up like Signalgate, or does it have, or can it be something infuriating like deciding to log the forests?
That's a good question.
Are you
Are we going
serious?
after incompetence or just
Logging
being a
the
shitbag?
forests?
Yeah.
Which forests? Protected
Yeah,
forests?
the Angeles, the one I live in now, the Los Padres.
Oh yeah, I mean they're talking
You
about
didn't hear me say that word.
you're talking about you know,
No, that could make it, but it didn't make the elite 8 of fuck ups.
depleting our
No,
natural.
just
I get what
I
you're
just
saying.
found
There.
out
You're
about
saying
it
is it
this
fuck up
morning.
is like incompetence versus being a shitbag or being you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question. Let me look at the ones that I
I'd
chose and
say
which ones are
Elon
incompetence
Musk
and which ones
throwing
are
all that money
shitbag.
into Wisconsin and losing might count.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Or the fact
Okay.
that the stock market has lost over $3.3 billion, which is the most
Yeah.
since 2020
Right.
and
And
the
that's where
outbreak
most
of
of our
COVID.
retirement is if we're not counting on Social Security.
Well, I think we have two like heavyweight champion fuck ups going. One of them is Signalgate, and one of them is the tariffs. Those are two definite.
yeah,
Okay.
because how are
Oh,
the
Lisa, you're drunk
penguins
already.
gonna pay tariffs?
Exactly.
I mean, really,
Exactly.
how?
Right. That is true, right? I mean,
For fun drunk.
he's
Yeah.
trying to charge tariffs on a country.
Penguins,
Yeah.
McDonald Islands,
A country with no
penguins,
humans.
no
Yeah.
humans, just penguins. And the whole point was they were supposed to have calculated American versus
Yeah.
like how much we spent in their country
Yeah.
versus how much
Imports
they spent
versus
in our
exports.
country.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, I was going to say, Lisa, you could try my new prescription.
Fuck it
Yeah.
all.
500 milligrams of fuck it all.
I think tequila works for that. I think
Well,
I want to say that poppy soda with 2 shots of tequila.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
What
Damn
is poppy
skippy.
soda?
I can't actually see right now.
You'll be fine.
Well,
I'm-
according to Kizzy, I'm going to need 1,000 milligrams before the week is over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've actually visited our local dispensary. And we
Did
need
you?
to go back because I am now out
Now
of
that's something
stuff.
I need to edit out. We're not talking about that on the air because
Okay.
both employed.
You can edit that.
Okay. So so let's take Signalgate. So you're in IT, Will. So am I. Aaron is also in IT also.
I look like Aunt Sharon, but I also look like my mom.
Yes, you do. You look lovely. You look
Thank
great.
you.
Um,
There's mascara involved, just so you
so
know.
how many different ways is Signalgate? I mean, how many levels of wrong is there in that?
Oh my God, so many.
A myriad.
Yeah.
Myriad.
Right.
I'll
You
say
guys
the least important of it is the emojis, but it's still pretty
Yeah, that's pretty hilarious.
offensive.
I mean, for God's sakes, how old are these people? They're using freaking emojis. I don't use that many emojis. Mind you, I think I'm older than them, which is, yeah.
Flag emoji, fire emoji.
But I mean, okay, so they're using a insecure platform.
What they call
Signal
them,
app.
they refer to the bullets as freedom seeds or something like that.
Yeah, until someone decides to exercise their Second Amendment on them.
Yeah.
Right. The amount of
and what did fucking Yemen do to us? I don't know.
What did Yemen do to us? Yeah. It's
Yes,
the second
thank
time
you.
Trump's attacked Yemen.
Yep.
But what?
And he's talking about bombing Iran.
right.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? What is your mental malfunction here?
But I mean, for years and years and years, the protocol was you get into a skiff, which was a secure, a secure room with a secure connection.
I made you smile. I made you. Okay, go
It's
ahead.
not a huge achievement.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So you got
Okay, Brad Marchand lives.
Oh, my mom licked him at our wedding. It was
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Best picture ever.
So the skiff, all that, that's, fuck that. They're not doing the skiff. They're getting on. They're like teenage girls or, guys on a rotisserie baseball league. They're getting on their app and but yucking it up. They're talking about the, military action, very serious military action. And
Teenage girls have rotisserie baseball.
Pete Hegseth is giving away field movements, in this chat.
With emojis.
That could be vulnerable to Russian or
yeah, especially because one of the persons on the chat was in, I don't know, what was the country?
Russia.
Right. So one of the members of the chat was in Russia.
I should be drunk on this more often.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
But so on that level, it's complete. It's a demonstration of stupidity, right? Or at least a lack of concern of whether or not you're going to have this data breach.
I would say it's more along the lines of a lack of security at this point, because any one of our adversaries, Iran, North Korea, China, Russia, any one of them could have hacked into it easily.
Right.
Because of its
I know people who could hack into Signal.
And the mainstream media is allegedly the enemy of the people, if you listen to Trump. And they included a reporter from, what was it, The Atlantic?
From The Atlantic. What was his name? We should have his name.
Yeah.
And
I forget his name right now, but
But yeah, and he said that he would, obviously he probably had, discussions with these one or more of the people that were on this chat chain, and somehow he said that he was invited into. The only way to get into it, unless the reporter himself is a hacker, probably is if somebody invites you, and so he was invited in, and he was privy to all this sensitive information
accidentally.
Yeah, and we're talking about old news now. It was all rehashed. These podcasts that go every day, sometimes twice a day. They really broke it down, and we can all see the flaws in that whole system that they were using. But what was important to notice was how the administration reacted to the whole fucking thing. Like starting with the next day, they started questioning the reporter, suggesting that he had hacked in somehow, attacking the magazine, the integrity of the magazine, basically just what do they call it, obfuscating.
Said his contact info got sucked into his phone.
Yeah.
Why does he want to grab my pussy? Solomon doesn't mind, and Nettle isn't interested.
Well, the thing that absolutely just made me sick was how Hegseth, first of all, he didn't even appear for the hearing, but yet everybody else sat there, Cattell Kush and everyone absolutely just perjured themselves when they tried to say that there was no classified information ever divulged, which was an absolute lie.
Absolutely. Liar, liar, pants on fire.
And the Republican Party, they just sit there and they shrug their shoulders like, yeah, it happens all the time. Really?
No, it doesn't.
Right.
This is a blatant and absolute breach of security.
I'm playing with it.
Yep.
I know.
And I cannot understand for the life of me why there's no further investigations into Hegseth or anyone else involved.
Right.
Well, who's going to launch these investigations is the question.
Well, yeah.
Right.
And Trump suggested,
It's not going to be the DOJ.
Well, of course not, because you've got Trump attacking law firms now. He's attacking federal judges.
Yeah.
I mean, basically everything he's doing right now is basically retribution.
Yep, that's his whole modus
Because
operandi.
no law firm is going to have the balls to actually challenge him, because you've got mainstream media capitulating, you've got law firms capitulating, you've got federal judges capitulating, and it's all out of fear of him? Really?
Yeah. Private corporations capitulating to the DEI stuff.
Right.
Which is ridiculous. Now, for our next podcast, I want to include there's a couple of podcasts out there on YouTube about businesses that have paid in to the and businesses that have not paid in. So I am going to link
Paid into
those.
what?
I'm going to make him link them because he's good at that. But I'm going to make Philip link those so that you can see which businesses. And I would like to suggest that we boycott the appropriate, i.e., assholes.
Yeah.
Well,
That would be
here in
excellent.
California, there's already a boycott of Target.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, Target. Ooh. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Honestly, we don't go to Target that much. We have a tendency to go to Dollar General because it's way cheaper.
Well, I mean, the implication is, again, we talked about this last
You
time.
know, if you're a membership of Target, or I mean Dollar General, you get $5 off of 25 every Saturday. So you should think about this.
The implication is that they're not concerned about it because there's not going to be a point like these what's gone on. Incidentally, they're supposed to keep a record of all their conversations also. All these people in positions of, in the government are supposed to keep, and Signal is designed to delete these message chains after 30 days, but still, if you
Really, they got
it follows it
okay.
after 4 years.
The Records
I don't
Act.
believe a statute of limitations will have prevented them from being brought to trial over this stuff.
Trump will have pardoned them, and he's already immune according to the Supreme Court. So,
which is some bullshit.
Here's the other thing. Sorry, Lisa. Here's the other thing. A federal judge ordered that those conversations on Signal be archived.
Yep.
Yeah.
And basically everyone involved, including Trump, had just went to the courts and the judge.
Yeah, they don't care about the courts.
And so again, that's a constitutional.
This is wants to run for their term.
That's a question. That's a constitutional.
It's a violation of the Constitution.
Fuck you! I didn't mean the F word.
All right.
Sorry.
I'll use the scalpel on this one. And you'll be wonderful.
Fuck you.
So whether or not, so Aaron, you're saying that who's immune? Trump is immune, or is Hegseth and
I'm saying Trump can't be prosecuted for things that he does and acts as president.
He's not.
He'll
pardon everybody that's
involved.
Well,
pardon.
That's
asshole. Pardon.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Pardon me, asshole.
But so I mean, the next one, I guess we should talk about the Wisconsin judge race, the state judge, the Wisconsin Supreme Court.
It's basically seen as a referendum on Doge.
Yeah. Elon Musk poured $20 million, $25 million into this campaign. There's footage of him talking about it before the election.
Not
So,
to mention the lottery purchase of votes.
so he was obviously, this was a big part of he was supposed to deliver on this. If you read between the lines, Trump, a lot of his gravitas came from the fact that he was going to deliver because that particular race is important to. This is where maybe you can help me understand this better.
Sure.
But this is
think
that race was important because it
I think it's
helped
important as to how
establish
districts are drawn.
Yep.
how the states are drawn.
Not
How-
the states,
Oh,
but the
and-
voting
and-
districts.
The
Voting
districts.
districts.
Now,
Voting district.
Ohio did win the abortion thing, but we lost big on the what's the thing where the Republicans redraw the lines so they prove that they're in charge?
Hmm.
I'm sure
Redraw the
somebody
lines.
Redistricting.
Redistricting,
Yes,
gerrymandering.
Gerrymandering.
redistricting, but they utilize redistricting to make the Republican votes count more.
Yeah, gerrymandering.
And I can't
That's-
remember the name.
that's-
Basically,
why-
what they're doing is they're eliminating the minority votes.
Yeah.
Right. And he is
And I never thought I would say this in a million years. But when it comes to Governor DeWine, I did not think I would ever detest anyone so much as I do him more than I ever did James Rhodes.
Vivek Ramaswamy.
no.
Ramaswamy is a joke.
Well, yeah, but he's a joke that plans to use his executive quote unquote function to eliminate the abortion bans and other shit.
Right.
Well, I hope he's
Whose
prepared
names
for
I can't remember right now.
I hope he's prepared for a fight because this is something that is going to go to the Supreme Court eventually.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah,
they keep
but the
saying,
Supreme
but
Court-
here's the thing. You've got the Republican Party constantly saying, oh, we're going to put it at the state level. We're going to put it at the state level. We're going to put it at state level. But if it does not fall in place with what they want and what they believe, now all of a sudden, now they want to start suing. They want to start slandering people. And
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah,
you know,
we're
it's
in
ridiculous.
state unless you don't do what we want.
Exactly. You know, because he's already talking about withholding money, federal money from, what was it, Harvard now
Yeah.
for their DEI. He's talking about withholding federal money from a lot of these states from the storms that went through, natural disasters, because of the fact that they don't fall in line with what he believes.
And the thing where oh darn it, I had it a minute ago. It'll come back.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
Let me get back to Musk a little bit though, because he was obviously supposed to deliver on this, and he didn't. And the instant reaction from the administration seemed to be that his role was going to be reduced. You know, he's no longer in charge of Doge. They imagine an offboarding within a month or so he can go back and concentrate on his business allegedly, and to fill this vacuum that Musk has left. Over the last few days, there's been another kind of a Rasputin character that's re-entered the stage, and she was very critical of Musk recently, and it's Laura Loomer, who's
Yep.
kind of a conspiracy
Theorist.
for lack of a better description. And
Native Americans getting shipped out because they don't have citizenship.
yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
Well, and when Trump was asked about it, he said, asked about Laura Loomer's
Crazy.
re-emergence.
Crazy.
He said
No.
that she was here to help with some personnel decisions. and the next day,
People were fired.
yeah, there was the commander. Let's see, I want to get the names right here. General
I know.
Timothy Hoff, Cyber Command and Director NSA, and Wendy Noble were both fired, ostensibly because they were hired under Biden's administration. But you know, if you connect the dots, it sure seems like Laura Loomer came in and
It's
made
personal.
that decision for him. You know,
Yeah, right.
well, he
That's
went,
because Trump is too busy golfing all the damn time. He
yeah,
done made it clear that he doesn't want to be president. He wants to be king.
yeah,
Because
Yeah.
I remember seeing something today on CNN. This one Harvard law professor was talking about how there was something posted online of Trump wearing a crown, and it said, "Long live the king."
Mhm.
right.
We are not a sovereignty.
No.
We are supposed to be, quote unquote, a republic or a democracy, but right now we're neither.
Right.
Yeah.
And Washington was offered the crown, and
A
he
plutocracy.
declined. What's that, Aaron?
Said we're a plutocracy.
Right. Okay, what's that? I can't remember.
The money, the corporations and the rich people are in charge, basically.
Oh, well, yeah.
Basically, we're an oligarchy.
Oligarchy.
But why does he have this weakness for some of the most inept and I don't know Laura Loomer. I assume she's not a
Because
Rhodes
they're
Scholar.
Weren't there
or-
because
rumors
they're
of an
shining up
affair?
his ass.
Wasn't there like a Trump Laura Loomer affair rumor for a while, and then she
Yes.
disappeared, and now she's
Yes.
back?
And that and
Interesting.
those rumors have also
Boy, she
resurfaced
really
along
shining
with
up
her.
his ass.
Yeah, of course they would.
Yeah. So I mean, it's going to be an endless cycle. It's always off. Like even something as in his mind, and what's terrifying. In his mind, he's probably thinking, all right, I've had all this bluster. I've started these tariffs. If they don't work out in a week, I'll start rolling them back. And you know, China's going to be, you know, it'll take him a little while to get over the butt hurt, but eventually, you know, business will take it. I don't think he understands
Any
the
of it.
impact of the shit he's doing. Like, I think there is an element of innocence to some of the shit he does. And he probably feels like he can pull this back at some point.
But he can't. And that's the thing, because the damage has already been done. You take a look at the NASDAQ alone, that's where the majority of the tech stocks are. And they have been taking a freaking beating every damn day.
Mm-hmm.
They've
Yep.
taken more losses than the Dow.
And then he's one of the people who people forget that he moved his own manufacturing plants overseas. So, and then when he in 2016 created laws about it to quote unquote make America great again, he made it in such a way that his own companies were not held responsible for the same things that they did. So,
Absolutely.
boo!
But not only that, but keep in mind, this man went so far off the deep end with his tariffs, he actually put tariffs on a remote island with, excuse me, penguins?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, there was.
I didn't know that penguins were in the fentanyl business.
Right.
Well, yeah, and not to mention the fact that it's supposed to take into account products bought from the United States versus products bought by the United States. I'm sorry, what are the penguins buying?
We probably spent
And the
money on
seals?
some kind
Maybe
of
the
research
seals are
there.
buying something? I'm sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
We probably spent money on some kind of research there, and they're trying to claw it back.
Could be, but it's only a 10%. I think what they did is if they had no clue what to put, they just put 10%.
Well, yeah, it's 10% on almost every nation.
That was the base.
On,
exception
like,
of
a lot of them.
like Mexico and Canada.
You know, one of the things that they talked about is that to make it seem great is that the tariffs were supposed to make it even. So instead of America paying more for tariffs than the other country, they would pay an even amount, but that's not what's happened.
Not even close.
No.
You
No.
know, because it
I
and,
mean,
and this was
penguins
brought up
alone.
in the mainstream media, is that Trump is doing this on purpose to intentionally tank the economy.
Right. Right.
And I mean, you've got JP Morgan, for God's sake, already sounding the alarm on a recession by the middle of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to imagine that someone's ego or someone's determination to try to prove someone else wrong would extend so far that he would jeopardize the economy
Uh,
just because everybody is in his face telling me he can't do this.
I feel
But-
like this is not so much that as him doing what his friends tell him to do because they think it'll make them richer. Which
Well, the
technically
problem
it
is,
will.
not only is he going to tank the American economy, he's going to do it globally.
Yeah.
Okay, people, you need to read Ready Player One. Read it. Don't just watch the movie. Read the book.
So if you pull back,
it matters.
if you pull back the curtain on this,
Mm.
operation, a lot of the most wealthy people in the country actually end up much better off during a recession and actually do not mind
Yeah. That's when you
going
buy
through
low.
what's that, Aaron?
That's when you buy low.
Yeah, you
Right.
buy low, everybody else gets liquidated, and you're
Mhm.
there to
You and your rich
Pick up
buddies
the
buy the
pieces.
dip.
right.
Yep.
Yep.
So that it's not far-fetched to say that, but
But they have to consider that if we, the majority, cannot buy the shit that they're selling, then what the fuck?
yeah.
And it goes back to
I
what
mean,
I
if you're a
said
doctor, you got to
originally.
take the Hippocratic Oath,
Sorry,
right?
Will?
If you got to take
Oh.
the Hippocratic Oath, if you're the doctor, do no harm. If you're a
Yeah,
lawyer,
but these aren't
you're not
doctors.
supposed to violate your client, the confidentiality with your client. There are ethics
Mhm.
The
that
HIPAA law.
that are, I mean, that's
Yeah.
absent in the most important office in the country.
Mhm.
If you can prove that he's intentionally harming the economy, that is a
That
crime, is it
doesn't
not? I
mean
mean, is it?
anything. No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
the
you have
thing
to
is,
you have to
though,
convince Congress to convict him of it.
Right.
exactly. Not only that, but the House also. And
Yeah.
it
I
goes
mean, the
back to
whole
what I
Congress,
originally said in the
both
first
houses.
cadence about this. The problem with capitalism, and I'll reiterate this, is the fact that it will always supersede the number one rule of consumerism. And it's a simple rule. It's economics 101, people. In order to be a consumer, one has to have the means to consume.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Mhm.
And what the 1% don't realize is the fact that they need the parasite class, as they call us now, to
Yeah.
stay the 1%. Because once the working class is gone, I guarantee you are going to start seeing a real Game of Thrones.
Mhm.
And they're going to turn on each other in order to stay the 1%.
Oh, they're already adversarial at best. But yeah.
Well, that's how they can be bought and sold.
Trump's already losing because he's the face of the 1% when it comes to the Trump regime, and things are going well.
Depends on who you
I
ask.
love
Depends on which half the country you ask.
Exactly.
I love the car sales lot called 1600.
Oh, the
White
Teslas?
House.
Oh, yes, yeah. When he was trying to save Musk's business by having the Teslas on the
Oh,
at the White House.
You know what? When it comes to that, I wish to God there was more security in our schools with our kids than there is on Tesla car lots
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
cars are getting firebombed.
Right. Right. Well,
But
without all
That's a
this nonsense,
conversation for another day.
maybe that could happen, but the thing is, we're starting to see some break from some Republicans from MAGA, and ever so slightly. But I mean, Mitch McConnell and I believe some of his other
Lisa
tradition. I can't remember who
Murkowski
else. There were
and
four Republicans who
Rand
voted.
Paul.
Rand Paul, who sounded a very stern alarm about the economy after the tariffs were issued. Um, they voted against the increased tariffs against Canada in a break with Trump. So that was notable. That was kind of a victory for we'll call it the resistance or whatever, for lack of a better term. But also, you're starting to see things like Ted Cruz going on news channels where he's uh, giving warnings about what could happen with the tariffs.
Ted
Also,
Cruz just talks out of both sides of his mouth, though.
well, a
Because
lot of
I
it's
was watching a hearing today to
Granddad.
where Cruz actually attacked Klobuchar of all people. And when she went to respond to his questions, he just got up and walked the hell out of the damn chambers.
well, it's self-preservation. These guys are not suddenly finding some sort of morality or any kind of common sense about this, but it's self-preservation. They can see that there's a possibility that this all could collapse, and it's going to take down, most of these shitbags with it.
Ted
It's
Cruz
like,
is the poster child for self-preservation. Just picture him on his way to Cancun.
yeah.
Ted Cruz is also the poster child for birth control, but we won't go there.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Well, now,
didn't
okay.
Trump talk about how ugly Ted Cruz's wife is, and then Cruz just comes around and kisses his ass anyway?
Right.
Yeah.
Accused his dad of being a communist or something.
Yeah, that's right. He accused his dad of being involved
Nazi.
in the Kennedy assassination, didn't he?
Something like, yeah, it was insane. I mean,
Come on, we all know that Kennedy was assassinated by his wife utilizing some assistance from the civil service.
how would you know that?
I
Okay.
don't know nothing. Do you guys know of any Democratic persons that we can get behind?
Definitely,
we
I
stand
would say
behind.
We're not
Cory Booker-
Democrats.
Cory Booker aside. Huh?
I said we're not Democrats.
the one person we definitely need to get behind right now is Bernie Sanders.
Bernie
'Cause
Sanders
he's the
and
only
AOC.
one.
Yeah.
Well, her and I would say Elizabeth Warren, because they're the
Absolutely.
only ones that right now are making any damn sense at all.
Yeah.
Notice how he singled her out during his fake
Bernie Sanders and
State of the
AOC.
Union address. Called her Pocahontas again. That was
Yeah,
rude.
that doesn't get old ever.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that any of these things are suggesting that there's any ethical, like a wave of ethics coming across the Republican Party or anything. But it is a sign that maybe there is some a little bit of a break or a leak in the boat a little bit. So
Okay. I just want to put in here that Bernie Sanders and AOC, April 15th, they will be in Auburn, California and Bakersfield, California.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I should go to
Okay.
Bakersfield. That's pretty close to me now.
And I'm pretty close to Auburn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
You're in Sacramento?
Yes.
I'm in Pine Mountain Club.
I'm actually residing in Carmichael.
Okay.
So are you guys planning to go if it gets close enough?
Unfortunately, because of my job and my manager, I wouldn't be able to, because they're already getting on me about my doctor's appointments.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
ooh, and Saturday, April 12th, Los Angeles.
Yep.
Thursday, March
Be right
20th,
back.
North Las Vegas. So I'm not seeing anything in Ohio. But maybe they're doing some more.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming or hoping someone's going to emerge, even if it's an independent, between now and the next election cycle or presidential election.
Nice.
Go Bernie. All right, Aaron. He is committed.
Yeah, it wouldn't be my first rodeo if I were to go.
You seen him live?
Yeah, I saw him at the LA Convention Center with Public Enemy
Oh, yeah.
minus Flava Flav. They were calling themselves Public Enemy Radio.
Right. Oh, cool.
Flava Flav was Team Trump, I think.
Really?
Ew, really?
Or
Ew.
the
they play
reality
like-
star buddies.
Yeah. He loves celebrities.
Yeah.
You know, he loves the beautiful people.
Yeah.
Like
Well, we
Flavor.
just-
Beautiful Flava Flav.
Yeah.
Well, we just found out recently that Wayne Gretzky is a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Lisa used to compare me to, who was it? The Quaid brother.
Oh, yeah, Randy Quaid. Or not Randy, the other one.
Dennis.
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 Yeah. She said,
He's
Think
got that, little boy cut in the cookie jar smile.
well, he's
They're both
MAGA.
Trump supporters, I think.
So we're done.
Well, so is Rich Little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
I'm
refuse
just
to watch
going
anything
with,
he does now.
I'm just going with
What's he done in the last 30 years, though?
kids.
Well, in the words of Howard Cosell, he hasn't done a damn thing.
Good old Howard
Good.
Cosell.
Good, good Cosell there.
We didn't know how good we had it with Howard Cosell.
Yeah,
I
right.
loved Howard, man.
Absolutely. Because he was a man that would tell it like it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Just ask the heavyweight champion of the world, Muhammad Ali.
I'm gonna put in a Josh Johnson plug here
Oh,
because
Man,
he's funny.
I'm pretty. You're not that pretty, Muhammad. I'm a bad man.
You're
Yeah.
not that bad either.
My dad hated Howard. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Really?
yeah, he hated him.
Why?
Because he was, my dad
You
fancied
probably
himself
loved to
like
hate him, though.
like a Midwest guy. And, Howard was more a lawyer. He
Mm.
would use huge words,
Yeah,
it's like
sophisticated
the
New York type.
No wonder he loved me.
Mhm.
I'm basically a walking thesaurus.
So, yeah.
I've had managers who've used me as their spell check.
I've got
Are you
people
Mr.
at work-
Milchick?
Yeah, I've got people at work that use me as their Google.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What was that, Aaron?
No
I
feeling.
said, are you Mr. Milchick? He was
From Severance.
he had a bad review. Part of his review was he uses too many big words.
Oh,
Kinda.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
I've been known to use big words in lieu of smaller words.
But I
It's a
think
Severance
okay, so
reference out there to our audience.
we've kind of covered the two big ones, but another one that continues to be an issue is the deportation bullshit and the actual denaturalization of naturalized citizens,
Like Navajo Indians.
right? And there was an example of an individual that was mistaken for a member of the Venezuelan gang.
Fillmore Abrego.
Because of the soccer tattoo?
Yes. And they accidentally detained him and sent him back to Venezuela, I guess.
El Salvador, he's in that
El
El
prison.
Salvador.
Yep. Now, can you really say it was
Why can't
accidental?
we get him back?
No,
Right. You can't say
because they say they have no authority over El Salvador and he's in their custody now.
Bullshit, did they ask? Because El Salvador already sent somebody back. Because they said they don't take women.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, there was an
For
incident.
once, girl power
There was an incident where ICE sent a woman
to El Salvador, and they said,
and they
nope,
refused to take her.
take her back.
I'm sorry. I think he was vagina deficient.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I think
No
it's
pussy, no,
no pussy, no jaily.
No
right,
levy.
no pussy, no pardon.
And I touched on that the last cadence also with her.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, basically with that, Trump's just basically to the courts on purpose
Yeah.
because they have the power to bring them back. They just don't want to because it puts them in a bad light.
Yeah,
Right.
Even though they've
they were
already
ordered
admitted
they were
they're
ordered to
wrong.
turn the plane around. They were ordered not to take off.
They admitted their own fuck up, but they're like, oh well, nothing we can do. Move on.
So these isolated
Nope.
stories, it's important to continue to never normalize any of this shit. You
Nope.
got to continue
Ever.
to pick at them.
Keep
Ever.
calling, keep complaining, keep bitching, keep making it
Phil,
a thing.
I gotta ask, man, where were you in 2016
Where was I in
when all
20?
this was going? When they were putting kids in cages,
Right.
I wasn't
and,
voting for Trump.
tear gassing
I can proudly tell you-
protesters. No, but you weren't involved like this. I'm
No,
glad
I
to
wasn't
see it.
involved then.
That was
Well,
kind of
well, you're
actually-
woke now, man. You're awake.
Well, what,
And
what,
you know, there's something that I saw on the video with Christopher Titus,
oh, you know,
and he said something that hit home, and I agree with it. I'd rather be woke than brain dead.
Yeah.
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 Aaron,
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't
I like him,
wasn't
he's
an
funny.
offensive thing. I'm glad that you've come around to the activist.
Well, it was slow. It was slow. Like I said,
Yeah.
2016, I never voted for Trump. I voted for an independent in 2016. And then it was gradual, towards the end. I was so relieved by the end of his first administration. I was like, this will never happen again. This is a great lesson in American history.
Yeah.
People will never embrace this shit again. And then I just started seeing that it was not going away. It's like bed bugs. It's like they're coming
Yeah.
out of the fucking darkness again. And
Okay.
it's like
Okay.
the evidence became so overwhelming of the human, the human rights violations, it's more important than any of the individual issues we're talking about is the destructive nature of this Trumpism. It's insane.
Yeah.
And also the people in my personal, I don't have anybody, Lisa and I, neither one of us have very many people in our orbit.
It's one of the reasons why we're reaching out to political organizations, because most of the people we know personally are pro-Trump.
Now,
Yeah.
if we were to reset and have a normal government again, I'm sure
And you can't have a conversation about
I'd be forever changed, but it's important right now, I think, to fucking turn over the apple cart on this Trump shit.
Yeah.
This is
Oh,
terrible.
absolutely. And again, that's why we need a third party involved.
I agree.
We need the independents. We need the progressives because again, the two-party system has outlived its usefulness.
Not to mention the electoral college.
Yes,
needs to go.
but we need fresh
Die.
blood. Fresh blood.
And I think we need to go back to the original electoral model, which involved people running for president.
Only property holding men.
Well,
and
no,
votes?
we'll bypass that part. But the person who got the most votes was president. The person who got the second most votes was vice president. Didn't matter. There were no running pairs. And I think that is a good idea.
Oh, well, yeah, we're
Well,
the first two.
I don't know though.
The highest vote getters are
Yeah.
president.
Say Biden won and Trump's his vice president.
Exactly.
Don't you think Trump has his Russian friends kill Biden?
Well,
Absolutely.
There would
and
be,
so what?
it would be an interesting
Well,
dynamic, wouldn't it?
Then
Yeah.
who's
Well,
Trump's
it's
vice
funny-
president?
It's funny
A
that
third
you
place
mentioned
vote?
that. It's funny that you mentioned that because and I brought this up the last time. There was an episode of The Simpsons where they showed Trump's funeral, and the death date in that episode was April 12th, 2025.
Oh wow.
We're now 7
days
days,
away?
a week away from that.
Well, I've also heard
Fingers crossed.
Simpsons has been prophetic a
we gotta
lot.
be careful. We gotta be careful.
Hey, I
And
just
here's
said
the
They
thing,
predicted the Trump presidency decades ago.
And here's the other thing too. Every prediction that the Simpsons have made has been right on the money.
We
Yeah.
can hope.
Well, not everyone, but yeah, many,
Well,
many.
another date is April 20th, because that is when some people think he may try to enact martial law.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well,
Interestingly, because gosh, what is it? With an executive order, he was able to enforce the Aliens Act for these
Mm-hmm.
deportations, and it expires on the 20th. I may have part of that wrong, but his ability
Yeah,
to
that
enforce
that
it
was a
on the
wartime. That was a wartime thing.
right.
We're not at war.
We're not at war, but
Well,
Well-
in a way, we are at war, but we're not officially at
him.
war.
but it expires on the 20th, and speculation is that he may try to enact martial law on the 20th. So people have their eye on that date.
okay, now a challenge. Okay, let's say he does enact the third term thing. Okay, and successfully. Just as a, oh my God, what the. So the question is, who would you want to run for their third term against him? And I know there's only one answer actually, but I'm talking about living or dead. Who do you think could take his ass out?
Right off the bat,
Obama.
Yeah.
Obama.
I agree. I think Obama could easily beat him. I think.
On the other hand, if he doesn't enact the third term thing, why hasn't Michelle been running? Because she's already got my vote.
Because
want
she
it?
saw what her husband went through, and she doesn't want any part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's
She
true.
wants to
Being
keep what hair's on her
president-
head and keep it dark for as long as possible.
Oh, please,
Yeah,
that's
because
hair
being
dye.
president,
Do you
it
think
ages
my
you.
hair isn't dyed? I mean, seriously, dude.
Well, he looks. I mean,
I do not.
Obama
look
aged
like
aside
color
from his
blonde hair.
hair. It was 8
He
years.
really
Go ahead,
did.
Aaron.
So did Clinton. So did every
Clinton
other
aged
president.
terribly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, take a look
Carter.
at Carter.
Carter, not so much.
He did, but he didn't. But take a
Yeah.
look at Reagan. My
Reagan.
God. Reagan looked like a walking zombie by the
He
time
was- he was
got out of
toast by
office.
the
He
end.
was a walking zombie by the time he finished.
True, because I've always said apparently he was a lousy actor because he couldn't even act as a president.
Well, Trump is starting to show signs of like cognitive deterioration. Like the other day when he was golfing,
Starting?
his
Let's
son had
try
to
start head.
yeah. But his son
He's-
had to drive the golf cart when Trump typically drives it as kind of like a show of,
Power,
power or whatever.
authority.
Yeah, but and again, that goes back to everyone was so worried about Biden's age. Take
Yeah.
a look at this doddering idiot that
I
we
mean, he's
got
only
as
what,
grifter
2
and
years
cheat.
younger.
So when he were they supposed to be golfing in that photo?
I don't know if he was.
Which photo?
You're talking about the golf cart where
Yeah.
because one of his
Someone
sons
pointed
is
out when
driving
I
him.
yeah, someone
Eric.
pointed out that nobody would be golfing in jacket and tie.
Yeah.
No one in their right mind.
Yeah.
But then again, you're talking about a guy that decided to use a water cannon on protesters just so he could take a selfie with a Bible in front of a church.
Right.
Tear gas.
That was in Washington, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yep.
it was across the street from the White House, and
Yeah.
he basically tear gassed the protesters and went in there and held a Bible upside down.
See, it's something every day. There's something every day, and that's
Yeah, but that something was 5, 6. That was first term something.
right. I know, but it's like that's Steve Bannon's his theory. You throw all this shit against the wall every day.
3, 4, 5 things a day, and it's getting exhausting,
It
man.
is getting exhausting. Yeah.
And a lot of it, I feel like a lot of it is, look over there.
Yeah.
Right. It's misdirection.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that the GOP's been involved in all along anyway. Gaslighting, deflection, denying, blaming.
Shell game.
Yeah, it's all a shill.
I'm not gay. I have a wife. My boyfriend is irrelevant.
Well, I can tell you, Aaron, to your question before, I would not ever be returning to the Republican Party. That's for
Oh,
sure.
Not as it
I,
is.
I don't know if I'd return to Democrat for that matter, but I vote for Democrats all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
I always say I'm like Bernie. I caucus with the Dems.
Yep. Same here because I've always, again, ever since the 2016 election and the way Bernie got screwed by the DNC,
Yeah.
I left the Democratic Party and became a progressive independent because I feel that that progress must first progress.
Yeah. I left at the same time, became Green Party.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of regret my Jill Stein vote, but Hillary Clinton still won California by a mile. So
yeah.
So it kind of doesn't matter.
That's true. When these things happen, like the election of a tyrant, it makes you regret maybe your decision not to, you've kind of thrown away the vote. And I probably did that in 2016 too.
Well, they tried to say the
But
same
you did
thing
it in a
about us
state that
Bernie
mattered.
supporters. Well, they said the same thing about us Bernie supporters. Well, you helped Trump win the election.
Yeah.
No,
No, that was
true.
yeah,
that was Deborah Wasserman Schultz.
Yep.
I think we're all depending on, obviously incorrectly, but depending on people not to make terrible decisions about our
And the Russian bot farmers
It's
who
like-
leaked the information about Deborah Wasserman Schultz.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And the thing is, twice now, the Democratic Party has set us up to fail. The first time with Hillary Clinton, and the second time with Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we were going to fail with Biden again, too.
Biden was actually leading in some polls. So I think he would have had a better chance somewhat of beating Trump than Kamala. Because Kamala,
Yeah, but
she never
was-
had any
he
time.
started losing Democrats after that debate. He was just
Yeah.
he looked like Reagan. He looked like second
Even if
term
he
Reagan.
was fine, he didn't work well in that debate, and it killed him.
And the thing is, too, Kamala didn't really have an opportunity to build any kind of platform because it was all last minute.
Yeah.
Well, and then things like a lot of the social media opportunities, she didn't take advantage of those,
That's true.
in my opinion.
That's because
Yeah.
she didn't have
She should have
people.
gone on more podcasts.
Yeah,
Yes.
but that's also because the fact that
And
she didn't
video.
have people behind her prepping her properly, like they were doing Biden.
That's a
She
good
didn't have
opportunity.
that support.
Right. That point about Kamala, that's a good opportunity to point out that even Joe Rogan has kind of turned a
Dialed
little
back a
bit
little.
on Trump. I mean, he was kind of offended by some of the sites of how the deported, or
The
been treated.
optics.
Yeah, the optics of it.
Mhm.
So even he is starting to show a little bit of
Remorse. Yeah.
But
Well, and then we have the FAFO, and the people who are suddenly, wait a minute, I'm DEI, I'm a woman.
yeah.
Duh.
So we did have our friend Will Cooper who had wanted to come on with us tonight, but he couldn't do it. But he might join us for one of these soon as well. He's a syndicated columnist. He wrote a book called "How Trump."
He wrote more than one, but
How Trump Threatens Democracy, how America works and why it doesn't, among other things. He has a lot of articles out there.
We haven't talked to him since the election.
Yeah. So he's interested in coming on and joining us. So those are things we can look forward to. But as we close out here, why don't we do our F-ups of the fortnight?
Let's do it.
And I'll probably share this responsibility with you guys more. We'll see how this goes this time. It was a little bit of a stretch to come up with 8, even though that's probably shouldn't have been. But
yeah, it shouldn't have been. Yeah, How America Works and Why It Doesn't. That's the new one, and the other one was Stress Test.
Stress test, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
good.
Actually,
friend of the podcast.
Stress Test is the new one, wasn't it?
Yep.
I think I don't
How
know.
America Works is newer than
I don't.
stress tests.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. How America Works is newer.
Yeah. Um,
Mhm.
so F ups of the
Let's
fortnight.
see.
So the way we do this is it's like Marianne versus Ginger. We'll give you two scenarios, and I can be the moderator for
So
this one.
we're
And what it
choosing
does,
the bigger fuck up.
the bigger fuck up. And to your point, Aaron, these are fuck ups of
Yeah.
These are
design and fuck
oopsies.
ups of ineptitude. So we can refine the topics if we continue to do this. But so I'll go around the room. So which is the bigger F up of the fortnight? The Signal app scandal or Wisconsin Supreme Court special election?
Wow, these should be the finals.
Right. And hands down, it was definitely the Signal scandal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because again, you're talking about a severe, blatant breach of security.
And the number of people involved, Tulsi Gabbard, Hegseth.
in
Yeah.
which all of them involved should be fired.
Did you
Bottom
guys see
line.
last week's SNL cold open about the Signal thing?
Yeah.
The
They were,
teenagers. Oh,
like I said,
Matt's here to take me to the
yeah,
movies. Gates? Actually, yes.
they used the number of the same analogy we used before of the teenage girls on the chat chain. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lisa, how would you go? Just for kicks.
I think I'm gonna go. I don't know. I mean, it's tough. I mean, which one's going to affect them more? I think
Which one's a bigger fuck up?
potentially the election, but I'm gonna go with Signal because damn.
Okay, so that's a sweet.
Yeah.
We got
I'd
Signal
say
going into
Signal's a proper fuck up,
Yeah.
and
So
Wisconsin is a proper reaction to bullshit.
right.
Absolutely.
right.
Mhm.
That is a heavyweight lead off, but I
Mhm.
felt like it was a big enough loss based on the, like we said before, Elon was
Yeah. Yeah, Musk losing all that
Yeah.
money and
And him
credibility.
being fired, I don't know though.
Sure.
I mean, I want to lean in that direction because he got fired because of it.
Well, yeah.
Not really.
All right.
I mean,
By the way, I'm mostly
Trump's
pro
latest
him.
was that he's gonna, he's wants to keep him around as long as possible.
Right, because he's a
Basically,
money
he
cow.
was just relieved of his duties.
He's a cash cow.
Right. He wasn't summarily fired in the style that we were accustomed to in the first administration, where it was three
In
people
which,
every
if you
day.
think about
Yeah.
it, the only reason why Trump won't officially fire Musk is because, again, Musk bankrolled his entire campaign to keep
Money.
him out of jail. And now he's afraid that if he fires Musk, Musk is going to retaliate.
Yeah.
Yep. And Musk is his Steve Jobs in that he's his developers used to say that Steve Jobs would take all the flack for them. He was their great shit deflecting umbrella.
Yep.
That's what Musk is to Trump. He's the umbrella that's taking all the shit.
Yeah.
Yep. Because Trump is, I mean, Musk is no longer his cash cow. Because take a look at how many billions he's already lost with Tesla.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's another.
But how many
situation.
billions is he gaining in these special deals he's cooking up now with
Right.
I mean, my God,
Country.
he sold X to his AI company.
mhm.
Right.
How does that happen?
Yeah.
How do you
Well-
sell your own company to yourself?
And how is that addressed by the whole TikTok thing?
The TikTok thing.
As much as Trump might have got rid of him, Musk probably is looking for an exit at this point. He's looking for a way out.
Could
But
be.
he still has
Yeah,
some
because he's
business.
losing too much money.
Yeah. So the parting may be,
But is he?
Yes
well,
and
not
no.
as much as he can
I mean,
feel it. Just
As long as you
Yeah.
have a couple billion stashed somewhere, can
Oh,
you ever
absolutely.
lose too much money?
I mean, that's a given.
he's not visiting the soup
But he's
kitchen anytime
visually
soon.
losing.
Right?
Yeah.
He's still the richest man in the world,
optics
isn't
of
he?
Look
One
over
of-
there.
I think he still is the richest man
He's
in the
still
world.
number one as far as I know.
Look over there.
Well, look how much money they made as soon as the election, in the
More
immediate
more
aftermath.
than any Arabian sheik you can name. That's hard to imagine.
Right?
Yep. Especially since Dubai is the richest city in the world.
Yeah. It's a
All
city
right.
full of Elons.
Okay.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
Here's our second matchup of the first round here. Trump's threatening a third term when he went on. Well, he had a conversation with Kristen Welker of Meet the Press, where he reiterated his, but with authority, saying that he's going to run. He thinks he can do that. Versus Laura Loomer's reemergence in the White House, replacing Musk in a sense. So, just are we sure? Did I do too much explaining? Trump's third term versus Laura Loomer. Let's just put it that way.
Trump's third term, he brought up pre-election.
Yep.
A vote for me means you'll never have to vote again.
That's scary.
Yeah.
But which one's scarier?
Well,
I kind of
scarier
think
that.
the third
Bigger
term.
fuck up, bringing
gonna
Laura
go with
Loomer
that.
back.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have to agree with that.
The Loomer or the threaten?
Yeah,
Yep.
there's no good that comes out of that woman.
At all.
So
And if I'm Melania, I'm going to be not a little concerned. I'm going to be a lot concerned.
No, well, you think she gives a shit?
I don't think she gives a about what he does.
She's just waiting till some time passes along, whenever
She's
whenever she
fulfilled
can,
her
whenever the NDA says
contractual-
she can leave.
She's
Well, considering
fulfilled
that
her
the last time-
contractual obligation to provide offspring.
Well, you notice that one time she came with Trump, and I kid you not, she looked like Oppenheimer.
Yeah, that was a crazy
hat?
outfit.
The
Oh,
hat,
the hat that
everything.
Oh yeah.
that was quite a statement.
You look like Judge Doom from Roger Rabbit.
Right?
All right, here we go. The deportation of Kilmar
Kilmar.
Abrego. Is that right? Versus Joe Rogan's deportation concerns.
I could care less about what Joe Rogan thinks or wants. So
I
I'm
would
going to
say
go with
that-
Abrego because they have destroyed his life, it destroyed his family, and all for no reason. And they're
it's a
not even
no-brainer.
going to try and fix it. Aaron?
Yeah, this one's a no-brainer. It's the deportation.
Absolutely, the deportation.
Okay. Last matchup of the first round here. Ted Cruz, rebuke over tariffs versus Republican dissenting on Canadian tariffs.
Are either of those fuck ups?
Well,
How would they affect things is what I'm going with.
yeah. Well, that's a
I
good
mean,
point, Aaron.
I don't think Ted Cruz
Republican
affects
dissent
anything,
on
so whatever the
Canadian
other one was.
Tariffs. What does that exactly mean?
I know you like exact science,
The
but
fact that Ted Cruz disagreed, and he is a pretty major Republican.
No, he'll disagree and then 6 weeks later vote for what the GOP tells him to. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's wishy-washy.
He's got a history of being bullshit. So that's meaningless to me. What was the other one?
the vote,
Joe
Mitch
Rogan.
McConnell and other.
Yeah, the
I think
the rebuke vote.
votes.
Yeah, because of the fact that you've got more Republicans starting to jump ship.
Yeah, the whole state of Kentucky, for that matter.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anytime you got Rand Paul turning on Trump, that speaks volume.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Round 2 of the F-ups of the fortnight. The Signal scandal versus Laura Loomer.
The signal scandal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing's gonna foreshadow that.
No.
Nothing.
And the second matchup of the final 4 here is Kilmar or Greg.
The deportation.
Deportation.
Yeah, the deportation of Kilmar Abrego.
Abrego.
I'm sorry.
That's
Kilmar Abrego. Versus the Canadian tariff vote.
Deportation, hands down.
Yeah.
That was just a major fuck up all the way around.
That they
ICE.
can't undo. Yeah.
Yeah.
ICE,
But they
FBI,
won't undo.
all
They
of them.
could. They won't.
Yep. That's the thing. They refuse.
All right.
Mhm.
So that makes our final. I know you said just a minute ago that Signal, nothing can beat the Signal scandal, Will, but does that hold up against Kilmar Abrego?
Absolutely. Because again,
Yeah.
that was a gross breach of security.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely not the standard
I'm gonna
channels of
throw
communication.
a humanitarian vote to Kilmar since I know Signal's gonna win.
All right.
And that's fair.
Yeah. All
But
right,
yeah,
so
definitely Signalgate, hands down.
Right.
You're my Jill Stein vote.
all right, so that makes the Signal scandal the F up of the fortnight.
Now,
Yeah.
I am going to bring up, because it's on the list, Florida race for the House of Representatives, where the two Republicans won. What the
But it's by a
Yeah.
narrower
right?
margin
It was
than you
well,
might have
yeah.
thought.
They didn't win as
By
well
half
as
the expected
expected.
margin. Yeah.
F
Yep.
that. Why? Florida.
Well,
Well, I don't know. It's Florida.
Florida typically goes red, right?
I don't even care. Florida
Typically, but
goes crazy.
Florida's also a lot of
They're nuts.
retirees, and they don't like their Social Security being chainsawed.
Yeah.
Right, right.
And
Or
they
their
closed.
401ks.
Yeah, they closed many Social Security offices and disabled phone services so that you can only renew your benefits or whatever online now.
Right.
No,
And
in
that made the
person.
system crash.
Mm-hmm.
Intentionally trying
They
to.
made it in person now. In many places, you have to go in person.
Then they made it in a lot of places where you can't go in person too.
Right, right. Because, well, no, they closed the offices. You just have to go fucking far.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Because, and also the whole thing where a lot of private enterprises are making people come back to the office as opposed to work from home. And do you know what they're saying?
Mhm.
Yep.
Do you know what I'm going to say if they say that I have to go back to working IRL? And I've already told my boss that. I didn't tell her that. I told her I'm not coming back. It's not
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah, I moved up on a mountain. It's half an hour just to get to the 5 from here.
Right. And but to be fair for me, it's actually not that far, but I do not drive, number one. And number two, I don't want to. I can retire. I mean, all I
Yeah.
have to do is say I'm scheduling for retirement. Uh, when am I supposed to come back? If my boss can work it out right, it'll be 6 months. I'll be retired by then. I could have retired when I was 58, 57, but I want to wait until I'm 62 because it's better benefits.
Better benefit. Yeah.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not depending on Social Security. I have OPERS. So I'm state.
well, the last point I'm going to make in
Fingers
this
crossed.
is something that I heard. I'm kind of tentative about bringing it up, but I've heard on a couple of podcasts that I've listened to that um, when they go and they use an algorithm to try to find waste, fraud, and abuse in the Social Security system, that they tend to cherry pick certain things. Like if they find a name that they find, if they think they've identified a Social Security account
Where the person is deceased.
where the person is deceased and still collecting benefits. If they have a name that first name that they deem different
Rare,
or ethnic
like LaQuisha.
or something of that nature, that they will eliminate benefits for everybody in the system with that first name.
Also, this is something that they're working on towards voter registration. If they find a deceased person who voted named Laquan, let's say, then all of the Laquans across the country are going to be
Eliminated.
Yeah. Fortunately,
picking the
there's so
names.
little real voter fraud.
Right.
It's not
Right,
an
exactly. It's
issue.
ridiculous.
It's hard to
They're
verify.
trying to make voter fraud.
The reason I was tentative is because it's hard to identify whether that's true. I probably should not have said
Yeah.
it, but I think it's
Well, no,
indicative.
they're talking
Yeah.
about rewriting a bunch of stable COBOL code with some AI bullshit.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Well, yeah,
And the thing is too, was again us IT guys. How old is COBOL?
Right.
I mean, we got off of the last of our COBOL right just, right before Y2K.
Interesting.
exactly.
But it goes back to
Y2K.
50s, 60s.
It's the butt of a lot of
Never seen that
jokes at
movie.
lunchtime.
Yeah, because all three of the gentlemen
It's
in this
I
podcast are
hate coding
IT
in COBOL. I
professionals.
really do. It's a goofy, wordy language with some weird structures to it, but it is what it is, and when it works, and they should leave it the hell alone and just,
Yeah.
Well,
Well, and
this is the one
okay,
time it didn't work because of the algorithms. You've got
Mhm.
a 0 actually representing 150.
Right.
well, if I do 0 and I get 150, I'm okay with that.
You're talking
talking
about
about
Okay,
money
years,
or-
calendar years?
that's my little joke. Okay. But I wanted to ask you guys where you weigh in on the situation where the vote in the House about women's health. It's what was it called? Number 7? Something number 7. I'll get more information so it'll be on the podcast. But basically it says that for women's health, men's health issues have to be what men's health issues are pertinent to women's health other than bitch gave me a UTI or an STD.
Nothing.
Cancer.
No. How does women's
Oh,
cancer
never mind.
affect men?
Never mind.
It is a fact that more money is spent on impotence research than breast cancer. And how many men die from impotence? Other than suicide, I'm not counting that.
Other than inside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're always pointing that out.
Things to think about for future reference.
Yes, you're especially attuned to this
Women's
inequality
situation.
in healthcare where
Right.
men are given preference.
Philip and I went through fertility, and apparently that was I don't know what was it Trump called it. People who went for fertility were, I don't know.
I can imagine it's some sort of disparaging.
Yeah.
Is it a eugenically weird thing that he said?
Right.
Yeah.
There was something off about, like, he was equating people who went for fertility to, I don't know, abortion somehow. And it's like, I'm sorry, most people who went through fertility have not had the opportunity to have an abortion. So what the
Yeah, I don't know.
WTF?
Do you guys have any final thoughts?
No, this is House Resolution 7.
Yes, thank you. Resolution 7.
Yep. Well,
In
my
the
final
House.
thought is the fact that something needs to happen.
Yes.
We need to rise up
We
and
are.
somehow, some way, make our voices heard.
We rose up today.
Well, it
And
felt
we
good
need
to
more
at least-
of it. We need more Bernie Sanders. We need more AOC, and we need more Elizabeth Warrens
And Cory Booker.
and Cory Booker.
But I've always been an Elizabeth Warren fan. The only reason I haven't voted for her is because she's too sane to run.
I think Cory Booker's going to be on Colbert Monday, but by the time this is released, that will be.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to fast track this. At least it's
Yeah.
given me some reason to go in and edit.
I'm sorry, hon. You know what? Leave it. Let them see I get drunk sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get drunk.
No, I'll probably leave that part. All right. Well, it's been fun again.
Same here.
Do another fortnight.
Yeah, see you in
Cadence?
2 weeks or thereabouts.
That's okay with everybody?
Absolutely.
I'm just going to say I'm voting for Political Cadence as the name of the podcast.
All right. Yeah. If you come back with something,
Something
the
else.
idea is to be able to
like
fine with that.
searchable. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag.
Go ahead and look up Political Cadence, see if it's usable.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys.
All right.
Bye.
See you
Good
guys.
weekend.
See you next time.
See ya.
See ya.
We have social.
Twitter,
Yeah, pod.
Instagram,
Yeah, pod.
Facebook.
Yeah, pod. So let us know. Hit us back. Have a great week.